Listen, you guys, I just couldn't wait any longer to start cooking up some decks for you guys. Welcome to the channel, Zen here. And on this channel, I love playing all things Pokemon Pocket, building spicy decks, and apparently even before the new set drops, which is later this evening. There's going to be a 1 a.m. Eastern live stream where I'll be playing opening packs. So if you guys want to stay tuned, don't forget to subscribe and turn on bell notifications. But with that, I have 5 decks that I think are going to be pretty spicy. I don't know if they're going to be meta changing, but I'm going to do my best to build them in a way that makes sense to you guys. I'll explain it to you guys why I built it this way and what I'm really excited to play. I think that's probably the safest thing to say instead of saying these are going to be the 5 best meta decks, because I don't know. I'm not psychic all the time, at least. But I do know these are the 5 decks that I want to play because I think they are pretty darn spicy. Now with that, these cards are pretty small, so if you don't know what they do, don't worry, I'll explain them to you. But essentially, this is a darkness Pokemon deck that has a lot of levels to this. It's going to shut down all your Mewtwo's, any psychic type decks. I'm talking to you, what was it, Mismagis, I believe. Hopefully they're actually weak to darkness. Let me go check that out real quick. Mismagis is, yes, weak to darkness, because that is a terrifying card. That is a terrifying EX Pokemon for this set. But yeah, with that, we'll talk about the darkness Pokemon first. So this deck runs 2 Darkrai EXs. The 140 HP, has 2 retreat costs, but it also has an ability which is really cool. Nightmare Aura. Whenever you attach a dark energy from your energy zone to this Pokemon, do 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, now that's pretty good, but the attack Dark Prism requires 3 energy. So what you're gonna do is bench this guy. This guy's a bench warmer, kind of like our boy Aerodactyl from the mini set. Now, bear with me, okay? The reason is you really want to lead with Sneasel if you can. Sneasel, 1 energy, double scratch, 60 HP, 1 retreat, weak to grass, right? AKA bug types. Double scratch is kind of like Kangaskhan. You flip 2 coins. For each head, you do 20 damage. However, if you get tails, you do 0. It's whatever, it's fine. The following turn, you evolve into your Weavile EX. And now this is where things get a little spicy. Weavile is 140 HP, 1 retreat cost, and scratching nails is 30 plus. This attack does an additional 40 if the opponent's active Pokemon already has damage on it. Okay, see what I'm saying here? So turn 1, you accelerate your Sneasel. Turn 2, you evolve into your Weavile. This is if you're going second, right? Then you have that extra energy. You evolve into Weavile, but then guess what? Your energy goes onto your Darkrai, who's already on your bench. And you put that 20 damage onto your opponent's active Pokemon. And now your Weavile EX is dealing, what is it, 70 damage. Just turn 2, easy. Mewtwo's have been real quiet after this one. Okay, I really like this 100%, but I also decided to throw this other character in here that not a lot of people are talking about. I've seen a lot of comments saying Spiritomb is a good call, and I think Spiritomb also has application, but I'm thinking like more of a late game. Like if I can't get this strategy going, I have something in the back line that's equally as strong or effective, and that's going to be the 2 copies of Squirrupy. 70 HP, 2 energy for Pierce, doesn't matter, right? 2 retreat costs, weak to fighting. However, Drapion is what we're going to be talking about. 120 HP, 40 damage with cross poison, but this is a multiplier. You flip 4 coins, it's literally Zapdos. This attack does 40 damage for each heads. However, if at least 2 of them are heads, so this has like a double effect. So if you get 2 tails, it's okay. But if 2 of them are heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is also paralyzed. I love that. So you have a max scaling feeling of 160 or 80 with poison, which is 90, right? Or 100 over once it comes back to your turn. I really, really, really like that. But then of course, we can't run a deck with Darkrai and not Cyrus here, because this effectively lets us, Darkrai and Cyrus are like peanut butter and jelly. I've been saying that so much the past couple days, but there are so many cards in the set that are literally just peanut butter and jelly. They work so well together. So Cyrus, real quick, if you guys don't know what that does, essentially it's a more powered up Sabrina. You switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it to the active spot, and you get to choose. You get to choose, which is insane. Okay, Running 2 copies of Giant Cape. I think I said the Rocky Helmet was going to be S tier. I think Giant Cape is actually S tier. I think that's going to go in so many decks. Giant Cape, the Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 20 HP. You could give this to your Darkrai or Weavile EX and effectively take them from 140 to 160, which gives them a little bit of buffer room to survive a lot of attacks. Really strong. Very, very excited for this. What else do we have? Ooh, this is another card, Pokemon Communication. This, I think, is a must for a lot of stage 2 decks. However, I decided to run it in here because what if we get like kind of screwed and we're missing that one Pokemon we need? We're also running 2 Pokeballs. So Pokemon Communication is really, really cool. You get to choose a Pokemon in your hand. Let's say I have 2 Drapions and 1 Skorupi. I take the Drapion, I use it for Pokemon Communication, I send it back to my deck, and then my deck randomly gives me another card. It could be a Weavile, it could be, hopefully it's not the same card. I don't know how that works. A Sneasel, it could be a Darkrai, but also we have Pokeballs to pull that Skorupi and all that other stuff. So you probably want to go Pokeball and then Pokemon Communication in that order. I'd imagine we still want to test things out. And then also, I just want to throw this out there. You're not using this turn 1, turn 2. You're probably using this card later on in the game once your deck is down to like 7 cards. So that way the percentage chance that you're actually pulling the one Pokemon card that you need to win the game is much more likely. So you don't want to do this when you have like, what is it, 18 cards left in your deck? Not 18, but you know what I mean, like 14, 13 cards. This is, you want better odds. Want better odds with this. 2 researchers and then a single leaf for either the Drapion or even the Darkrai. You never know. But that is the first deck, and this is a Darkrai variant. I think we should probably hop in to some of the pack gods, specifically Dialga and Palkia. All right, so next up is Dialga EX, and before we even get into this deck list, I just need to preface that this is not the best Dialga EX deck list. This is just one that I'm very excited to play. This is one that I think a lot of people might not even think about. There's a lot of elements and layers to this. In fact, I think Dialga EX is one of the Pokemon, the newest Pokemon that we're getting, that you can build so many decks around because of the ability and the effects and what it just allows decks to do in this game and in this format. In fact, hold on, let me pull it up real quick. Let me pull up my notepad. I have 16 Dialga variants that are going to come out on the channel, so I'm very excited. And you guys are getting a sneak peek to one that I don't think a lot of people are going to talk about. So with that, let us talk about this deck list. So we have 2 copies of Dialga EX, okay? This thing is running, not running. It has 150 HP, a metal Pokemon. It's our first metal EX Pokemon, Metallic Turbo, 2 metal energies. Essentially, you get to ramp any of your Pokemon on your bench for 2. You give them 2 energy, 2 metal energy from the energy zone, and it's so good. This is easily one of the best colorless Pokemon, the ramp card in the game. There's actually a couple other Pokemon that take advantage of this tremendously. But yeah, Dialga EX is insane, dude. This thing is just, it's going to be so versatile. I cannot express that enough. But yeah, it has a 2 retreat cost. There was a variation of this deck that I was thinking of running Leaf, but I think the other cards in this deck are a little bit more of a must. You'll see, we'll talk about them in a sec. I guess you could argue reducing both of the tool cards to 1 apiece and then running 2 leafs that way. That could be a good argument. All right, anyway, we have our Shieldon. We have a fossil Pokemon. What this means is effectively Dialga EX, the 2 copies, and then the single copies of our colorless Pokemon, which we'll talk about in a sec, are the only Pokemon that are capable of being in your opening hand. So was a 50% chance that you're going to start with Dialga in your hand. That's a pretty good chance with this deck, right? And with that being said, Shieldon, stage 1 from a fossil, 100 HP, which is the highest HP for a fossil Pokemon. And it has a Headbutt, which can, do damage if you ramp with Dialga. But I think Bastion is the one that I think is insane right here. 160, you throw in Giant Cape, it's 180, which is why I want that in there. Or even Rocky Helmet, because Rocky Helmet in this thing is kind of nuts. There's a 2-fold situation here. It has the ability Guarded Grill. If any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon takes minus 100 damage from that attack. So I just want to paint a picture for you guys. You give this Rocky Helmet, your opponent attacks it, you flip a coin, you take no damage, and they take 20 damage back. That's insane. All you gotta do is flip heads, right? Pretty easy stuff there. All right. But I also wanted to throw in a control element that I thought was a pretty spicy card. I'm pulling it up on my side. Obviously, you guys see it. It's Rotom Fan. Here it is. It requires 2 energy. It's literally Aerodactyl from Genetic Apex, but in my opinion, a little bit better because it's a basic Pokemon. It's actually not literally Aerodactyl because that sends it to your deck. And this card sends it back to their hand, essentially with 2 energy, which you could ramp from Dialga, spin Storm, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is put back into their hand. So if it's an evolution, if it's a stage 2, you send it right back to their hand and they have to slowly, over the next course of 3 turns, get that Pokemon back online and evolve. So like, this is a really good card. I'd imagine they also just lose their energy. It just goes to the discard pile, right? And then of course we have Chatot because this is a fossil deck. I think Chatot and fossil decks are really, really good. You can run, what's it called? Mimic to like mulligan your hand, get better cards in there. With that, we also have 2 Pokeballs. We have the 2 armor fossils that are literally like any other fossils. We have the 2 Rocky Helmets, 2 Giant Capes. Again, this is just my variation of this deck list. Now, as I'm looking at it, I think I would reduce the Rocky Helmets and the Giant Cape to 1 apiece, and then potentially throw in, what's the card I'm looking for? Throw in either another leaf or maybe even double Dawn. You'll see why I think Dawn is kind of cracked, okay? Professor Researchers, and then 1 Dawn, 1 Sabrina. So Dawn in this deck, why would you want to run 2 Dawn in a Dialga deck? Well, because Dawn lets you move 1 energy from your benched Pokemon to your active Pokemon, which means on turn 2, you Metallic Turbo, and on turn 3, you give Dialga 1 metal energy and you Dawn it, and now it has 4 and it's dealing 100. So on turn 3, it's dealing 100 damage. I don't think anybody thought of that yet. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna, take a little bit of time. I'm a little too quick for this. But Dawn and Dialga are like ready for peanut butter and jelly, guys. It is so freaking good. But there you guys have it. I'm throwing the Sabrina. I don't think we need the Cyrus for this. I think Cyrus is pretty niche, but also very strong. Like, it's not like super niche, like no one plays it, but it's like you need other things in the deck to really get advantage from it. But yeah, this is the Dialga deck list. And now we're going to be moving on to Palkia, which is a lot simpler to talk about. Yeah, we have a single Manaphy here because this thing is great. The reason I put 1 Manaphy and not 2 is, hold on, let me pull up the Manaphy. There it is. Because of that 50 HP. I understand we're running 2 copies of Giant Cape, but just that 50 HP is not great. And also, what if you were to start with just Manaphy in your hand? You lose the game. There's nothing you can do, and your next couple cards are you're not drawing Palkia, you're not drawing Pokeballs, you're not drawing Pokemon Communication, you're not drawing EVs, you're not drawing none of that. Okay, so I think personally, 1 copy of Manaphy here. And as I built this deck, there are a couple things that I think could be done a little bit better now that I look at it. Like the Pokemon Communication, I thought was a pretty good card because you might be really trying to find that Palkia, right? You Pokeball once, you get EV. You Pokeball again, you get another EV. Well, you have 2 more Pokemon Communications. You might be able to get Palkia, or you might just get 2 Vaporeons. Either way, it's pretty good. However, if you don't want to run Pokemon Communication with this type of deck, I think potentially running 2 more Dawns could work with this, because the same thing, from the bench, you ramp it right back to Palkia, right? Speaking of Palkia, this thing is busted, you guys. 150 HP, 1 water energy, deals 30 damage slash, which is why you're seeing 2 copies of Giovanni. What are you talking about? 40 damage? Yeah, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to do that. That's pretty good. You could get rid of the Giovanni and say that extra 10 damage doesn't matter, but like that's literally what Giovanni does, right? That extra 10 damage does matter a lot of the time. And then we have the Eevee and the Vaporeon, a ramp with Misty if you get lucky, and then ramp that onto Palkia EX, because with the Dimensional Storm, you have 3 water energy, 1 colorless, 150 damage. You're one-shotting so many things in the game. The Giovanni helps you one-shot any sort of 140 EX Pokemon that's also wearing Giant Cape. So that's why the Giovanni's there as well. Threw that in as a little splash tech. But then the side damage here, this attack also does 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which pairs really well with Cyrus, allowing you to just say, hey, I want that Pokemon in here next. It's great. 2 Giant Capes, 2 Professor Researchers, the 1 Cyrus, and 2 Misties. I think this is a pretty good deck. I think this is a pretty strong variant of Palkia, but I'm sure we'll see other variants, and I'm excited to see other variants. Okay, now we're getting into a couple decks that I am just, oh my goodness, so excited about. Guys, I have good news and I have bad news for you. It looks like I don't know how to count, but also bad news is this isn't like the best quality because I didn't save this deck list, but I made it and I shared it with my Discord. Also, we have our own Discord. Check the description or the pinned comments for it. But anyway, we'll talk about this deck list and then we'll go back to the others. So you're getting an extra deck list in today's video. If that doesn't merit a like for the video or potentially a subscribe, I don't know what will. But this is a full-on psychic deck list that I think is going to be insane. I genuinely think this one might be an extremely meta deck list, or at least a variant. Let's talk about what we have here. We have a single copy of Giratina, and this is your frontliner. Why? I know you're looking at that retreat cost and you're like, 3 retreat sucks. The levitate ability. If you give it 1 energy, it has no retreat cost. So it literally retreats for free, which is like, we don't need leafs, we don't need anything else, right? Let's talk about Mismagis and Mischievous. This Mischievous mumbles for 20, it's a 60 HP, nothing crazy, it's weak to darkness. And then Mismagis here is 140 magical delusion, 2 psychic energies, 70 damage, which is respectable. However, the opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. And this is, I'm telling you guys, this is going to be the most broken ability. Now, I don't know if your opponent flips heads, they're no longer confused. I'd imagine that's how it works. Or they're just confused every turn. It doesn't matter if they flip heads, they can attack, but they're still confused the other turn, the following turn. I don't know how it actually works. I think if they flip heads, they're no longer confused. That makes sense to me. However, if they flip tails, their turn's done. That's it. They can't do anything. This is so good. And then they stay confused, I believe, for the following turn. You don't even have to use this again. So I think Mismagis is going to be very, very, very strong. We have 2 copies of Togepi, Togetic, which, you know, nothing crazy here. But it's the Togekiss I want to talk to you guys about. This thing is nuts. 140, 60 damage, overdrive smash, which deals another 60 damage if you use this attack consecutively. Okay, during your next turn, this Pokemon's overdrive smash does an extra 60 damage. Pair this with Cynthia. We have 2 copies of Cynthia. Turn 1, you're doing 110. Turn 2, you're doing 120, potentially even 170. That's insane. I'm flabbergasted. This is going to be the most meta deck in the entire game, right? We have 2 Pokeballs, 2 mythical slabs, because of course we're trying to get our cards online, right? And then we have a single Pokemon communication, and because it's a stage 2 Pokemon, I think this is where you're gonna want Pokemon communication. Say I need my Togekiss. I have my Cynthias in hand. I have everything in hand. There's like 7 cards left in my deck, and the only cards left in my deck are like 2 Togekiss, 2 Professor Researchers, and things that aren't even Pokemon, right? That Pokemon communication guarantees that you're gonna pull your Togekiss, or at least like very likely. So I think it's a very good card in this type of deck. And then we have 2 Professor Researchers, and again, 2 of those Cynthias. But yeah, man, I am excited for this deck list. I'm so glad I found it. I was like, yo, I made a Togekiss deck. Where is it? And there you go. We finally found it. So let's move on to Gallade here, or what I like to say, Gallade. I think this is a pretty good deck as well. Let me find, why can't I find it? All right, so we'll breeze through this one really quickly. You have Ralts, you have Kirlia here. Don't worry, your deck should only give you fighting energy, but you might want to double check that. I'm pretty sure because they're requiring colorless energy attacks. They evolve into Gallade here, EX. For 2 fighting energy, it's literally psychic, right? So it does 70 plus 20 for each of your opponent's energy attached to their active Pokemon. However, we have 2 Riolu and 2 Lucario to beef this dude up, so he deals 90, potentially 110 before the extra 20 damages. Like, that thing is nuts. And then we have a single Marshadow, which I think Giant Cape works really well with. So if like a Riolu goes down or a Ralts or something, Marshadow comes in, it deals 100, potentially 120, potentially even 140 if you have 2 Lucarios on. We have a single X Speed, a single Pokemon Communication, a single Giant Cape, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor Researchers, a single Dawn, and a single Sabrina. Now, out of all of these cards, I think Dawn is the one that's like interchangeable. The reason I put Dawn here is because let me paint you a picture. You have a Marshadow in the back or something. Say Ralts is your only card. First turn, you play it, you give it an energy, right? You have Riolu in the back. You teleport, you switch in to the Riolu in the back, and then the following turn, you give your Riolu an energy. It only has 1. It evolves into Lucario, and then you could Dawn that first energy you put onto Ralts to teleport. onto your Lucario, and now your Lucario can dish out 60 damage, right? Or you can work it the other way, right? If you have 2 Ralts, however, you're not going to get your Gallade online by turn 2. I think Lucario's the best, combo with Dawn, but Dawn is definitely interchangeable. You could remove Dawn, maybe put 2 X speeds, and make this deck a little bit more cohesive and just consistent. Okay, so we went through Darkrai, Gallade, Palkia, Dialga. We did the Togekiss, and I think this is the final one right here. All right, let me move this around. This is a good one. All right, so we have Moltres EX. I mean, this is so obvious what this thing does, right? So Moltres EX is there to ramp everything. Your energy goes onto your Infernape. Hopefully you get 2 of them on. However, you don't really want to give too much energy to Infernape because Infernape's Flare Blitz deals 140 damage and then removes all of your fire type energy. It does retreat for free though. You have your Mew EX, a single copy. So that way this thing gets all the fire energy while you're Inferno dancing with your Moltres. 2 Pokeballs, 2 Pokemon communications because you really want to find your Infernapes. 2 giant capes, because a beefier Infernape or even a beefier Mew EX or Moltres would be really great. 2 Professor Researchers, 2 Dawns, because again, the following turn, like if you ramped with Moltres onto another bench, Infernape loses 2, no problem, Dawn. And then the following turn, another 140. Loses 2, no problem, another 140 with a second Dawn. Dawn and Infernape EX with a Moltres is peanut butter and jelly. And then we have a single Sabrina. But there you guys have it. Those are turns out 6 decks. Oh my god, for those of you that actually stayed to the ending, you were in for quite a treat. I messed up recording the intro for this video, but there you go. 6 deck lists that I think are going to be very fun, very strong decks, and that I'm very excited to play as soon as the game drops tonight, which I'm going to be up again live streaming. I'll take a nap sometime today just so I can, have the energy for it. But there you guys have it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these deck lists. Let me know how you would change these decks, what you would add, what you're excited to build, and check out the Discord. We could also continue the conversation over there in the deck building channel. But yeah, there you guys have it. Don't forget to like the video, consider subscribing for more premium Pokemon Pocket content, and I will catch you guys in the next one.